A potential three-team trade is going to be hitting the NBA. We're going to take a look at who wins and why this is being done the way it is. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel and turn on those notifications as well. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, it's been a pretty busy NBA summer so far. Now we've got a potential three-team deal that I think makes a lot of sense for everybody involved here. It's the Golden State Warriors, the Detroit Pistons, and the Sacramento Kings. I can't wait to dive into this one. But first, before we get into this three-team deal, Donnie, did you hear about the seven-team trade that's out there brewing?
I did. I got my hopes up about it, but I heard you say that it's probably just stuff that's already done, just bunched together. But it's still really cool to hear that there's a seven-team trade at least.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tease. It's almost like they just wanted to set the record for the most teams together in one trade they could possibly put. But it's all stuff we've already heard, and there's only 5 players reportedly involved in it that were in the NBA last season. It's mostly like the draft night stuff. It's just all getting put together and executed at the same time. Yeah. So it's not really cool. All that exciting. It'll set a record, but it's nothing new or super, breaking news-ish. So I guess they're just looking to, get in the NBA record books.
Yeah, probably so. But it's still cool to see that there is something like that, like you said, in the record books, if it ultimately does shake down that way. But Lakers fans are still holding the hope that Cam Whitmore will wind up in LA somehow. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, they can always change it. And that's the thing with all of this stuff. It's all super fluid because none of this stuff can get executed until July 6th anyway. That's when the moratorium lifts. So they've got time to kind of shape these things and mold them however they see fit. All right, but let's talk about this three-team trade that reportedly could be coming here. Warriors, Kings, Pistons. A three-team trade that would send Jonathan Kuminga to the Sacramento Kings. Dennis Schroeder would also go to Sacramento as well. These would both be sign-and-trade deals, sending both those players to the Kings. Yes, you trigger a hard cap at the first-tier apron by accepting a player via sign-and-trade, but if you're going to do it once, you might as well do it 7-8 times. You can't trigger that hard cap at the first apron multiple times or anything. Once you're hard cap there, you're hard cap there. So they would get Dennis Schroeder and Jonathan Kuminga. The Detroit Pistons would wind up with Malik Monk, who I like a lot, especially to provide some scoring punch for Detroit. And then the Golden State Warriors would wind up with a couple of second-round picks. Devin Carter, who was a lottery pick from last year, and Dario Saric in the deal that will be sending out Jonathan Kuminga from their side. So, lot to break down there, lot to talk about. Donnie, what team do you want to start with?
I guess the Kings, because they're the ones that kind of are making the biggest splash here, it looks like.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so my initial thought on the Kings is I like Kuminga going there, of course. I just and Schroeder will be solid for them too. I just feel like they're kind of all over the place, but that's typical Kings, right? Like I like them bringing in talent in general. I was wondering, I was going to ask you, like, what is the idea here? Like, just because they're on like a 2 timeline thing, like I don't really get it. But the idea is to bring in just talent and figure out the rest later, right? I guess so.
We are on the same page, Donnie, because I was going to ask you the same thing. What are the Kings doing? What is the plan for this team? Because Jonathan Kuminga, I like Jonathan Kuminga a lot. I think he's going to be good. I thought Miami, their interest in him was smart. I was hoping Miami would land him in the Jimmy Butler deal. They weren't able to get him, but and Miami does still have interest in him. But if you're the Sacramento Kings, and we will see if the Warriors are, they do have some hesitation about giving Kuminga to a regional rival in Sacramento. But if you're the Kings, you have Zach LaVine. You have DeMar DeRozan. Now, maybe this won't be the case. Maybe they have something else. You have Sabonis. You have Malik Monk right now. If he's part of this trade, obviously he goes away. But your primary skill set for too many of your top players is scoring the basketball. And that's what Jonathan Kuminga does. Now, he provides a little bit rebounding and things like that. But really, at his heart, at his core, he's a scorer. So it's more of the same for Sacramento. And I don't see what exactly the plan is here in order to put a team together. As you said, Donnie, it's like they're just throwing together a bunch of talent and just hoping that somehow it's all going to work out. I do like the Dennis Schroeder acquisition for them. He can give you some feisty defense, but we also know that Dennis Schroeder, for the entirety of his NBA career, has been a guy that you feel really good if he's your backup point guard. You don't feel as good if he's your starter, and they're going to pencil him in as their starter. So, Donnie, I don't like the Kings are doing things, but it feels like they're trying to paddle upstream here. Like they're not making real progress. I don't see this coming together in a way that's going to drastically change the fortunes of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, and I think that's the unfortunate part about it. But I do think they've got a little something brewing under the hood here where there's like some, if they do pick up Kuminga, all of a sudden you've got a nice younger piece. You've got some mid-20s guys that still haven't peaked yet, of course, that you can make part of your core going forward. You know, Devin Carter, you've got Murray there still. They're going to be trading
Carter would be going out in this trade.
Oh, he is? Okay,
yeah.
Then never mind on him. But you've got Ellis. You got some guys under the hood. But again, it's just, I think you need to move on from DeRozan first and foremost. I think he has to be gone at this point because there's just not enough room for him and Kuminga, I think, with Levine and stuff like that. And you can kind of sit on Levine and maybe he has a good year. Maybe he's moved. Maybe he's an expiring next year. And then you figure out what to do with Sabonis. But above all else, I mean, they're going to try to be feisty, but they kind of sound like a lottery team to me.
I give them credit for trying. And look, this could wind up shifting dramatically if they find a home for, again, DeMar DeRozan is the guy they really should try to move. I don't know how much interest there will be in him, but if they can find a new home for DeMar DeRozan, a few tweaks here and there, and this picture can shift and it can look much, much better. But right now, okay, you get Dennis Schroeder, okay, you get Jonathan Kuminga. I think you just kind of wind up still being the same team that just hasn't been good enough.
By the way, like, what do you think they're going to do with Murray?
I think they're going to keep him and pay him. Yeah, I think they're dead set on keeping him right now, and I think they will. And that's the other thing; he really needs to take a step forward for Sacramento.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, like I said, there's something there, like under the hood a little bit, where you got Murray and Kuminga on the wings. Like, there's something.
Sure.
You just gotta clear the way for it and properly, like, you don't have to do, like, I think with some of those guys, if they develop in the way that you're hoping, you don't have to do like a long scale rebuild, but just like some rebalancing of this roster for a couple of years, maybe get a couple of younger guys in on a timeline around those two. Like, you could be pretty fun a few years from now, but they don't really seem to want to dismantle. So
yeah, and I get it. They
missed the not the right direction either. Like, he's going to be 35 at the end of that, right? So
yeah. Now, to be fair, the final year on the deal is reportedly not entirely guaranteed, so at least that helps a little bit. But yeah, Sacramento, man. Again, you make a move or two, and the puzzle pieces can fit, but you've got some work to do here still. And I like Jonathan Kuminga a lot, but you got to do some other stuff if that's the move you're gonna make. All right, let's jump over to Golden State. This is about moving on from Jonathan Kuminga. This is about ending this saga. There have been concerns about his ability or lack of ability to shoot the three and what that means in terms of his fit on the floor already with Draymond Green, with Steph Curry, with Jimmy Butler, and how that doesn't quite work out for them. We know he wanted a big payday in the past. He's probably going to want that from Sacramento in this sign and trade. But for Golden State, it's been a disappointingly quiet offseason for so far. Perhaps they get Al Horford. I know he would be a fantastic fit.
He'd be perfect.
Yeah, he is exactly the kind of guy they need. For sure.
He is the prototype type of center for them. Like, it just makes too much sense for Al Horford to go there.
Maybe so much sense that it won't happen. I don't know, but I think he would be a great fit there. Moving on from Jonathan Kuminga, it's just about getting value. It's not necessarily about getting pieces that fit. I think Devin Carter can be a Warriors type player, but he played so sparingly last season, was dealing with injury to start his career. So who knows where that will ultimately go. But you get a couple of second-round picks. You get a big that you're familiar with in Dario Saric that can space the floor a little bit. And then you move on. And hopefully moving Kuminga would unlock some things for the Warriors and sort of jumpstart their offseason. I do wonder how much of their other moves or how many of their other moves are being held up while they wait for this Kuminga thing to resolve.
Yeah, and if Saric is healthy, he's another guy that would fit really well, similar to Post, who they kind of found and developed, and he fit in pretty nicely as well. And Bielitsa of a couple years ago and stuff like that, they just find a way to make guys like a Saric work, those stretch five types, and he would be a nice piece for them if he's out there and healthy and able to play. But on the Kuminga piece, yeah, it's unfortunate that that's kind of all you're going to wind up getting for him in a trade, but I guess it is what it is, because maybe they should have tried to trade him at a sooner point than this.
Well, it's tough with the restricted free agent, and then
Mhm.
and especially if you don't want to be the team to pay him, and that kind
Yep.
of seems to be where we're at here in Golden State. Worth noting that Sarge was a Warrior season before last, 8 points, 4 boards, shot 38% from three. You can do
Mm.
far worse, especially for a team that's fairly needy right now at the center position. But the Jonathan Kuminga saga would finally be over. The Warriors could move past that and then hopefully jumpstart the rest of their offseason. But let's go over to Detroit. I've been a little underwhelmed with Detroit. You know, you're losing Dennis Schroeder, who's important for them. You're losing Malik Beasley. That whole situation
Oh
is
man.
just a mess. They weren't planning on that. That was kind
Good
of a
Lord.
surprise out of nowhere. Now they have to recover from that. And you were losing Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Denver Nuggets, which, by the way, I thought that was a great deal with Denver. And you bring in Malik Monk. Now, they also brought in Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson in free agency. These are two guys who are 31 years old, though. So they do kind of recover a bit there from losing Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, Schroeder. And then you're going to go get Malik Monk, who's a very different player compared to Schroeder, more of a microwave sixth-man scorer. I do like Malik Monk a lot, although I wonder how much of this is just give us a talented bench player more so than the perfect fit here. Just we're losing Schroeder anyway. We don't want to lose him for nothing. Let's get back something of some value and then try to figure out a way to make it fit.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's also a little bit of a, I don't want to say logjam, but a redundancy in the backcourt by adding Monk to this team. But I do like him coming in for them as well. But, you know, with guys like Ivy coming back next year, more of a scoring guard type. But, you know, Ivy's a different player from Monk as well. But ultimately, though, I just wonder how that looks. But I think he's a nice pickup for them, especially on the heels of losing the guys that they're losing. And I really like the acquisition of Duncan. I thought he was for sure going to stay in Miami. And he should fit perfectly into that shooter role for them, you know, replacing what Beasley was doing, despite the fact Beasley was on like Beasley had probably the best year of his career last year. So
he was fantastic.
I saw a tweet that said Beasley was playing in the red all season last year. So he had to make sure he was shooting like his life depended on it. Cause if you haven't kept up with the Beasley stuff, there is so much more that's come out. Like, it's crazy.
And we won't get too far into it here, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there that is absolutely crazy with him. But Duncan Robinson could fill that role fairly well. You get Karis LeVert, who can do some things as well as a bit of a creator. So I don't mind what Detroit is doing, and I'm a fan of Malik Monk. I like his game a lot. But again, a secondary playmaker, more of a primary scorer. But the bottom line is you want guys that teams have to care about on the offensive end, so they can't focus all their defensive attention on Cade Cunningham. In that sense, I think you're doing okay here if you're Detroit. I think what it really is that's got me maybe a little disappointed in the Detroit Pistons offseason, it's that Atlanta got so much better when you see the moves they made, or even Orlando getting Des Bane and what they did there. It feels like the other teams around them in the East that could talk themselves into, hey, why not us? Why can't we be the team to make a run? Did bigger and better things than Detroit did. But I can't say this has been a bust of a summer or anything like that for Detroit. I think they've done just fine. Like, certainly, I think Detroit has themselves firmly in the mix. I just don't think they made moves that put them necessarily over the top here.
No, and there some of that's just hoping for internal growth. Another year of Cade, another year of Holland, another year of, you know, Ivy, Duran, like some of these guys
and please stay healthy, Jaden.
And exactly, with Ivy also coming back and being able to hopefully be healthy out there. So some of that is just kind of that. And they did want to get a couple more adults in the room after losing some in the offseason this year. And I think that at worst they'll be a lateral team, but they could wind up with a better record just simply also because, you know, less competition potentially out there as well.
True. Yeah, the Eastern Conference has been certainly struggling with what's going on the injury front this season. But all right, everybody, give us your thoughts. Who's the big winner from this trade? I have a hard time picking. Like, this is okay for all sides. I'll tell you this. I think Sacramento can be a big winner here if they make other moves. If there's other stuff to make the pieces they'd be getting in Dennis Schroeder and more specifically Jonathan Kuminga fit, Sacramento can be a big winner here because I am a believer in the talent of Jonathan Kuminga. Just they've got other stuff to do first.
Are they getting the best players in this though?
Yeah, they are. I think they are.
So like at least there's that.
Exactly. They just have to make them fit. That's all. And if they can do that, okay, I'll be in on it from their side. But Everybody, let me know in the comment section. What do you think of this proposed 3-team trade? Who do you think gets the best of the deal? Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.